this authority, not only to go to war without a declaration, but, you know, the president a year or so ago announced the fact that he had the authority to assassinate American citizens. That's not in the Constitution. Now, I know there's plenty in this room that understand the Constitution a lot better than he does, because this is his explanation. He said that he does have the authority because he can do anything he wants except those things that are prohibited by the Constitution. I think it's the other way around. I think a president should only do those things that he is explicitly authorized to be able to do. The executive branch has been doing that for a good many years, but Congress is not very good at protecting our liberties as well. Because, you know, at the beginning of this year, on February 1st, it was a bad New January 1st, it was a bad New Year's for us. Because, first off, nationally, there were 40,000 new laws placed on the books. I mean, I'll tell you what, we don't need new laws. If I were to be your president, I would like to be a president that would get rid of about 40,000 laws. He also signed a law, which I imagine a few of you have heard about, was that National Defense Authorization Act. Now, there were a few things in there that we probably needed to do, but what they put in there, and it was debated on the Senate floor as well as the House floor, and it gave the authority to the president to arrest American citizens by the military. I mean, this repeals a posse comitatus not using the U.S. military to come in and enforce local laws. This is what we fought a revolution over. We were sick and tired of the British Army coming in and invading our houses. But not only does the Army now have the authority to arrest American citizens, they can do this and be denied an attorney and be held indefinitely in a secret prison. Now they say, well, we haven't really used it yet. But it's this whole idea of why is the law changed? Why do these laws get changed if they don't have intent to use it? Now, the president has already proved that he can assassinate American citizens because he's done it. He's done it on 3 occasions, and supposedly the first guy was a bad guy, but they've never had proof of it. But it's the principle that is so bad. But he also said after killing Al-Awlaki, who was the one individual they went after, they said, well, a family member also was involved. So they had a drone missile and they killed the son. Turned out the son was 16 years old. He was on the backyard barbecuing with his cousin. Now, I know there's a strong desire to be safe. You know, a president doesn't take the oath of office and I'm going to do anything conceivable, even if I have to invade all your privacy and regulate you to death. My job is to make you safe and secure. And isn't it? The president takes an oath of office to obey the Constitution. That's what he's supposed to do. In the last 10 years, we have been fighting these various wars. They've been undeclared. Nobody knows why exactly they were started. And they don't seem to ever end. But this has been the case, you know, in my lifetime. I mean, we still have troops in Korea. How long are you going to have to pay to keep the troops in Korea? I would say, time's up. Let's bring the troops home. I was drafted in 1962, and I was in the Air Force for 5 years. 1962 was the time we had a missile crisis dealing with Cuba. Conditions were quite a bit different. It was the height of the Cold War. The Soviets had 30,000 nuclear missiles and weapons and missiles, and they were right on our coast. And the Vietnam War was going on. And, you know, in spite of all those problems, Kennedy at least called up Khrushchev before they had a nuclear exchange. You know, and they made a deal. Well, you take your weapons out of Cuba, we'll take our weapons out of Turkey. And even under those circumstances, they were able to talk to each other. That's why I advocate the principle that we ought to talk to people. Matter of fact, under the principle of the just war, those principles tells us that we're supposed supposed to talk to people and do whatever we can to prevent the war rather than, just going off and getting involved in these wars. But Vietnam, I didn't have to go to Vietnam, but a lot of the people I worked with did. A lot of them did come home, as well as in Korea, I knew some that did not come home either. But in Vietnam, we were there 10 years. We lost 60,000 people. Many hundreds of thousands, if not a million total Vietnamese died. The French were there for 10 years. And then finally, we had to leave. Some people say we lost, and we certainly didn't win. But what has happened since that time? All of a sudden, we started talking to each other. Instead of the domino theory working and the whole area go totally communist, what happened is they became more westernized when we weren't using force and bombs and intimidation. All of a sudden we started talking to people and trading with people, investing over there, and they invest over here. We go back and forth. But just think of what was achieved in peace that could not have ever been achieved with